Senator King.
I was struck when Senator Cassidy mentioned poetry. So I asked ChatGPT to write us a poem about the firings at the VA. Here's the poem, which I will provide for the record. In the land where the eagle proudly soared, where freedom's song was oft restored, a shadow crept across the plains as whispers spoke of recent pains. The halls, once filled with earnest care, now echoed with a vacant air. For hands that healed and hearts that served found futures tossed, their paths unnerved. The veterans, with stories deep, their guardians gone, their solace steep, they wondered if the promises made were fading like the evening shade. Oh, what of honor, what of trust, when noble missions turn to dust? Yet in the hearts where courage burns, the spirit of the warrior yearns. For though the times are harsh and cold, the tales of valor ever bold remind us, both young and old, that some truths are worth more than gold. So raise a glass to those who stood in every field through fire and blood, and may we find in days ahead the wisdom to restore what's fled. Pretty amazing. And I think it captures what's going on here. By the way, firing 80,000 people will reduce the VA budget by 1.2%. I think we ought to keep that in mind because people think, well, we're cutting the budget, we're saving a lot of money. 1.2%. This is performance. This isn't policy. And it is 80,000 people. The memo of March 4th said our initial objective is a return to our 2019 end strength. That's 83,000 people. I just don't know how anybody with a straight face can say you're going to cut that many people and still provide the same level of services. It just doesn't compute. The second piece that I want to inquire about, and I'll ask you this question, is what about these contracts? I saw the little video of the secretary the other day proudly saying, we've eliminated 600 contracts, we're going to save all this money. I want to know what the contracts are. And we've been asking that for a week, and we're getting no answers. What are those 585 contracts for? Because I fear that they're for mental health counselors or radiology technicians or maintenance. I mean, those contracts are for something. And it's an insult to this committee and to the United States Senate that we have no transparency whatsoever on what these contracts are. So that's a pretty simple ask. Will you take that question back, Mr. Engelbaum?
Senator, it would be my pleasure. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information on the specific contracts that's handled under a different mechanism, but I will take that for record and take that back.
Well, somebody knows what those, and I don't expect you to know, but somebody knows what those contracts are because they made a decision to cut them, and I think that information should be shared with this committee. So it's hard for me to understand what's going on here except a motivation to show that we're cutting the workforce for relatively small returns in terms of the overall budget of the agency. And I think you use the term meat cleaver. The operative term is chainsaw.
Yes.
That's what that grinning guy is using as a chainsaw instead of a thoughtful process. So I would like to see, as I think has already been requested, what the plan is for these 83,000 people. How are you going to approach that? Who's going to do it? What's the criteria? Because it's hard for me to believe. I understand, and you said we've grown, for sure, but 7 new bills have been passed with regard to veterans benefits since 2019, the biggest being the PACT Act, which require a lot of people to administer. And so I just want to know how you're going to resolve those kinds of issues. So I apologize, Mr. Chairman, for not speaking to these bills, but these people had the good luck to be here today. Thank you for your testimony, and we'll look forward to working with you on these bills. This is a very bipartisan committee. The PACT Act passed by bipartisan majorities in both houses. So we want to work on those things, but we need some facts. And I, for one, believe that the agency ought to be providing that information.
Thank you, Senator. And as I stated previously, it'd be my pleasure to come and brief you, this entire committee, on our plan and their thoughtful review that we're undergoing right now, and to get at what the ultimate number will be and what we should look like in the future for success to better serve our veterans.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'll submit my poem for the record.